Hello there, my friends. Today we are going to be unboxing and building the brand new KBD67 version numero 3 that I just got over Black Friday. The R3 kit does include pretty much everything you need for a fully modded keyboard except for keycaps and switches, including bottom foam to put in the case, a muted silicone gasket to include in the case, as well as a bunch of stabilizer modifications too. The first big step is to go ahead and lube and assemble your stabilizers, prepare them to put on the case. I personally save my Krytox for switches, so I'm using my 3204 lube just to put a little dab on the insides of the stabilizer housings. As always, you don't want a ton of lube on this step, just enough where you can see a little sheen on the inside. Next up, I will insert my stabilizer stems. If you haven't done this a lot before, you'll note that there is a specific way it goes. You'll just have to play around with it to make sure the shapes line up and the holes line up. The kit does include multiple stabilizer sizes, so you want to make sure that you are lubing and assembling the correct size before you do anything else. Lube and tissue, what could go wrong? I've watched a lot of YouTube videos where people will start with a brush for lubing stabilizers. I just stick it in and sometimes will brush off any extra. This is why I like to have sticky notes around. It's a pretty safe way to wipe off excess lube, and you just fold up the sticky note and throw it away when you're done. It doesn't move around because it sticks to the desk. It's just a handy thing to have nearby. The next step in this general process would be the Band-Aid mod, but instead of Band-Aids, the kit does include some sticky, fabric-y pieces that you'll tear off with some tweezers, it's a lot easier, and then stick to your PCB. By the way, both sides of these things are not the same shape, so you'll want to make sure you have it positioned the correct way. There are big holes and smaller holes for your stabilizers. Next up, we'll peel off the sticky stabilizer gaskets and put them on the underside of the PCB. Your stabilizer screws will screw into these. Next, you will install and then flip over and screw in your stabilizers one by one. Generally a good idea to snap them in. You can push down, they should snap into place just a little bit before you screw them in. And if you have large fingers like me, you will need to use tweezers for these teeny tiny screws. And also, this screwdriver does not come with the kit, so you're going to want to have around a teeny tiny screwdriver as well. After all the stabilizers are screwed in, it might be a good idea to go ahead and throw on some switches and a keycap and just test for basic rattle. You should be able to see if you've done anything wrong at the very least. Part 2 of this build is going to be assembling the silicone and the plate. You'll first put the silicone positioned correctly on top of the PCB. You might need to press down gently a little bit just to put it into place. After that, you'll do the same for the plate, which will absolutely pop down into the little holes where your screws will go. And I think it's really important to go ahead and put on 4 or 5 switches around the plate just to hold it in place. As you flip it upside down, it'll make it a lot easier to screw things in. After your PCB and plate are all assembled, it's time to put in switches. You'll see me checking for a little bit of wobble. I was thinking about putting films on these cherry blues. I did not for the purpose of this video and this sound test because I didn't think they needed it that badly and it was just going to take too long. The final part of this build is just preparing and then assembling the case. First up is sticking on these little plastic feet. Next up, we are going to use the included screwdriver to take apart the bottom of the case and the top of the case so that we can easily insert our foam and also the silicone pads. An important note, these silicone bumpers can only go one way. You will look at these and see that one edge is slightly longer. That longer edge actually points toward the inside of the board. I kept wondering why I couldn't get these to fit very well. Well, that was why. Once I figured out how to position them, they just pop right in. Next up, it's time to add the bottom foam for some sound dampening. You can choose to do this right side up or upside down. I'm doing it upside down here. I like to put the bottom of the case on, which helps it hold in place, and I can generally just flip it upside down easier or attach it to the top of the case much easier. Some people prefer to do it the other way around though. At this point, you will want to press in the silicone into the bottom of the case as best you can. It's worth noting that you should get it snug, but it's never going to be unmoving. It will bounce around just a tiny bit, and that's actually a good thing. That's what you want. When you install the top part of the case, it will tighten everything up the way it needs to be, and then when you press your keys, it'll definitely help with the sound. So, what do you think of the KBD67 Lite R3? Let me know in the comments. Hashtag like, comment, and subscribe this video. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Adios.